He's whiny.
Yeah, like he sounds like such a bitch. Hello, and welcome to episode number
35. I think it's 35.
I don't know. Well, and the other thing is, like, there's no point in doing this because we're gonna chop this one thing into like 5 smaller episodes. So like
this first one will be 35 though. I do think that's
okay.
True.
I forgot. I like stopped counting after the half stuff, dude. Like I totally turned off my brain to all of this stuff when I was in Tokyo. I was just focusing on like not getting lost in a country where I don't speak the language, making sure that I didn't miss my flight to Korea, making sure that I like got through customs and like didn't starve and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I bet. I'm always a little bit nervous. I've never been to a country where I like genuinely didn't speak any of the language. Japan, and I speak, I guess, a little anime Japanese, but I've never been to like Asia, and it's a little bit concerning. I can tell. Italy, Portuguese, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish. I'm like, all right, that's easy. But then it's like, what do you do with Japanese and Korean? I don't know what the fuck's saying.
Yeah, no, I can't really. So the other thing is, like, Japanese people are really good at just like telling what you're saying, even if you're not saying anything that like makes sense, right? Like, just by like the gesticulation and hand gestures and stuff like that, they have a really good grasp on what you should be saying. And the Koreans do not, man. So like I got used to in Tokyo, I got used to walking up to some Japanese guy and just saying like, "Oh, how do I buy a bullet train ticket?" Right? And he would come over and show me how to do it on the kiosk. And then I would do the same thing in Korea. Like I got off the airplane and I went over to the desk and I was like, "So where do the drivers wait for you at?" And he just looked at me like I was a fucking idiot, dude.
Well, Japan,
he was like, "I don't understand you."
Yeah. No, the Japanese teach English a lot more like thoroughly. Like I think everyone in Japan has to learn English. Like they don't like remember it, like we don't remember Spanish or whatever. But like it's like pretty prominent. So I think they're more. I mean, obviously they teach English in Korea too, but it's not as like pervasive, from what I've been told. Yeah.
So
like, I know that.
Did we lose Atavism here? Is he still hanging on there somewhere in the back?
No, we just never introduced him.
We've got to introduce him. This is one of our most exciting podcast guests we've ever had on the show. I am greatly pleased to bring you none other than Slatavism, right? And
at Thomas Shelby right now on Twitter.
At Thomas Shelby. So could you give me a list of your 37 other handles that you've had?
I can't list those here. I'm afraid it might get your podcast demonetized.
He has some pretty good handles, right? But collectively, this guy has run up at least 1.5 million followers. Unfortunately, he keeps getting banned every time he hits 1.5K. But he's continued, right? And he's made at least 1,000 of these accounts. He's a notorious esoteric fitness bodybuilder. A hustler. He subscribes to Andrew Tate Hustlers University too. He has for the last 7 months, and he has had a remarkable effect on his net worth as a result of following these programs. Actually, and I was wondering if you wanted to tell us anything about it.
I'm actually not a Hustlers University alum. I heard you guys had a bit on that. About does he really make like $100 million a year from that? That's what I heard. What I think he does is that when you're in Hustlers University, you're like making shorts of him. You're making the edits that everybody sees. That's what the program.
You're like his social media bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have actually been told that someone. I don't know who it was. Someone was in it recently, and they said that's what they do. We haven't spoken in weeks, so like all of what's happened for the last few weeks is like blurring in my head. So I can't remember if it was with you or not. I've been to 2 conferences. You've been to 2 conferences.
Yeah, dude. I really fumbled the bag, man. We both really fumbled every bag, actually. We're continuing to fumble bags even now as this podcast is going on and recording, right?
Like the elephant in the room. I went coin in the room
for the Pepe coin in the room. I guess we like. Dude. So all of us who went to Remicon Tokyo, we were like, yeah, this is going to be epic. And like, it was very epic. I got to go to Korea after, hang out with some great friends. I would not reverse it for the world, obviously. However, everything that we did in Tokyo pulled us off of the internet. And the exact moment we got on the ground in Tokyo was when like all of this meme coin stuff started happening. And so like I was in a group chat where somebody shilled Pepe at literally like 28,000 market cap. And it is currently at like 1.9 billion market cap or something ridiculous. So that it was literally like like it was literally like a 50,000x. And there's one guy in there who actually dropped like $1,000 into it at that point and like rode it all the fucking way up.
Yeah,
and he still has like half of his bag. Actually, there's another guy who has like 90% of his bag.
I deserve generational poverty for not being around and buying Pepe. This is I have to, and my penance is watching the fucking rocket go off as I'm on sidelined, bagless.
Yeah, dude. Well, the other thing is like, so I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe I fucking missed it, man. I ruined my life by going to Asia and like missing out on all these opportunities. And then if I had just taken like $10,000 and dropped it into Pepe, like just right when I got home, it would have still been like 400K now. Like, like it still just kept going up so much over and over and over again, man.
Yeah, I was hanging out yesterday with Chuba and Cool Man. I don't know if the listeners, some of them might know, and we were just watching it fucking just take off. Did you see today? Like, so Binance, CZ of Binance, did his typical thing that he does, where he says, he was like, "Oh yeah, we're not gonna list this coin. The top holders are like distributed wallets of the same market manipulators, and we want to protect our customers from blah blah blah." They did this whole thing, and then so the market, like, you know, it went from like 14 something, like it's like some massive decimal. It went from like 14 to 9 or something, right? Basically, we got like a nice big like 40% pullback off of that news that sort of like halted the run. And then it starts running up again. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I changed my mind. We're going to be listing Pepe. And then it literally just like in 1 hour went up like it gained like $1 billion in market cap. I have never seen anything like that in my entire life. This does, I mean, hey, even if I did miss this one, this does bode well for the bull market in general, because you only see retarded behavior like this when it's like actually like.
Dude, I still think this is echo bubble tier, man. Like, I think that we are right now, like, this is the final rotation, right? We get the last couple days are going to be like all of the profits from the meme coins rotating into like the Remelia NFTs. Like,
this kind of reminds me of DeFi Summer. This reminds me of DeFi Summer with all the coins being made. And then like once they see, the thing that really makes me think this is like DeFi Summer is that you need a catalyst for more money. And that thing that fucking Blur just did, where they created like collateralized peer-to-peer loans.
Oh yeah, collateralized Milady loans. So for those of you who don't know, right? So Blur basically has this thing. Blur is an NFT marketplace. You can go and buy like NFTs on it and stuff. And Blur created a system where you can take an NFT that you own, which is like an illiquid asset, right? Like you can't get any money from an NFT unless you go and you sell it, right? Normally. But they let you loan it out. However, because they're incentivizing the lenders with Blur points, which they want to collect so that they can get an airdrop that's going to be worth some amount of money, right? So the lenders want these Blur points, so they're trying to give the most loans out. and the result of this is that they're giving out 0% interest loans.
Yeah.
So you can like loan an NFT, like you can like put in one of your NFTs as collateral and you can get out an equivalent amount of money. And then you can take that equivalent amount of money and you can go buy another one of your NFTs. And then you can keep doing this.
And then it makes the floor price grow up. So everyone like,
and then
there's no real reason for it to give a 0 APY loan, but everyone wins because they have the same evidence. It's the most Ponzi shit ever.
It's like the most bizarre incentive I've ever heard of. And so you have all of these Miladies who are going and they'll have like one Milady and like 2 Ethereum in their bank account. And they're going and they're lending this one Milady and then they're getting back the Ethereum and then they're buying another and then they're lending it and then they're buying. And then so they'll have like 11 7 chained miladies. But then because they've bought so many miladies, the floor price is up. So like all of their loans are like well like above water.
So yeah, like, it's bananas, dude. This is how you get the Ponzi started again.
It's just super bizarre. It's essentially Blur subsidizing a bunch of lenders to be like total idiots with their money. And the other thing is like, so like you can do this, and like let's say that you just wanted to hedge against, like right now, the smart thing for me to do actually, if gas prices were less fucking high, would be go take all of my miladies and lend them out, and then just hold the collateral, and then if the price drops, I just default on my loans and I just buy new miladies at a lower price, and then I keep the difference, right? Like let's say milady goes to 5, or let's say milady is at 5 Ethereum and it drops to 2 Ethereum, right? So when it's 5, I loan out, I get 5 Ethereum from the lender, and then the price drops, but I have 5 Ethereum and they can't take it back, right? So price is now 2 Ethereum. I just go buy another milady at 2 Ethereum, and then I default on my loan, and I have 1 milady and 3 Ethereum now.
Yeah, I
like
still haven't.
You can't lose on the downside if you do this. That's like the absurd and crazy thing. And you can only win on the upside, right? Because yeah,
it's bananas. But this stuff like this is like when fucking Celsius showed up, or Uniswap. Like this is what makes like everyone start to have retarded amounts of money that they use to start the next wave. So I'm bullish. I think everyone's waiting for it to go down. Maybe there's like some kind of like bank collapse that makes it like flash crash or something, but I don't see it like going back below, like what, like maybe 1,300, maybe like in a flash crash, maybe, but I'm skeptical. I think it maybe 1,500 maybe at some point, because it can't go up forever, obviously, But anyway, we have a guest. We keep forgetting to acknowledge the guest because we've been.
He's a shy guest.
He's a shy.
I'm not an expert. I can't even contribute to that conversation. I didn't even know that Blur was a thing.
We're pivoting into a cryptocurrency podcast, right? Because we've realized that, like, as homeless individuals, we need to start talking about these financial investment opportunities and stuff like that, so that people come to us and they say, "Wow, these guys have a lot of alpha, right? These are." I should let these guys hang out with me, and then we sleep on their couches, and we no longer have to pay rent, right? Like it's all a very orchestrated, calculated thing for us now. We have, that's the other. Speaking of alpha, dude, fuck me. This was the other big thing that made me want to blow my brains out. Was like the same group chat that told me about Pepe made, and then like they gave people a seed allocation, so people like paid like $500 to start pooling liquidity so that it could have like a market that's made it all, right? And then that seed allocation is currently worth like $460,000 or some shit like that. And I also missed out on that because I was in Tokyo. However, I can comfort myself knowing that I definitely would have sold it at like 10K. So like,
like it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah, like I would have fumbled that one so early. It would have just been like, who cares? And that honestly would have felt worse, right? Like if you had it and you fumbled it, like that feels way worse than if you.
I only remember the ones I had and fumbled. I don't remember a single loss.
If I had never, because I mean, like I made a lot of fucking money off of Pepe, but I still like, it went up an additional 3x after I sold still, and I was sitting there like, and like that hurts more than if I had just like missed it entirely. Like if I didn't even know what the coin was or I'd never heard of it, like. I would be so much comfier right now. But I literally have like my cortisol levels are like at least 175% times their average level, right? Like I've lost like 7 pounds. Like I'm in my basement right now, just sort of like tense, shaking. Like I don't know if you can hear in my voice, but it's a little. We're down.
You're a little
bad.
frazzled. You're a little frazzled.
We are really down bad, man.
Listen, I understand. We're coming out the gutter right now, but don't worry. There's a lot on the horizon. Lots on the horizon for Verse and Lukas, both monetarily, career-wise, and podcast-wise. We're on the up and up.
Yeah, Atavism. I don't know if you heard, but I guess there's some people who want to hang out with us and host us for IRL podcast recording sessions.
Mm-hmm. I got 2 offers, one in New York and one in Austin.
Offers like
venues. People were like. Like legitimately.
Sounds like fun, yeah.
Consensus and NFT in New York City. People were like, oh my God, I love your podcast. Bro, I have this space. I would like, it would be so cool. I've been looking for events like for like based people, blah, blah, blah. And I think you guys would be sick to have a in-person show. We'll have to do a recording. We'll have a little party afterwards. Boom. It's 2 separate conventions. No, mind you. So we're out here. I actually got recognized a lot because of the Milady Justin doing the Justin Murphy. I'm sorry, Justin, for defending Milady's on that podcast, because Milady's are up right now and everyone's wearing Milady shirts to all these events, consensus and otherwise. So like, oh, hey, Verse, how's it going? Thanks for defending Milady's. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
Dude, I think that was like the most. Wait, was that the one? Were we on that one together? Was that the one where we were?
We did 2 together. You were a non on that one, on one of them, and then I did the one that was like last year's consensus in his like studio.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, because the one that I did with Justin Murphy was probably like my most boring podcast appearance ever. I think I said like the most non-substantive stuff ever, and then like afterwards, I like after everyone else left the recording room, I sat there and I talked with him for like 45 minutes and gave him like the rundown. And he was like, "Why the fuck didn't you say this on the podcast?" Like, he was like, he never said like you were so fucking boring on the podcast, but like you could tell that like the idea that he had there was like, God damn, dude, like why
you fucking saved all the good stuff, man.
Yeah, he was like, he saved the good stuff till I turned off the recording mic. But
nah, Justin's fun, dude. Justin's I love Justin. Yeah, he would absolutely come to the Austin one, by the way. The one, so listen, if Texan, I'll start putting out the word now if you guys are listening, that's on the horizon. Because mostly I just want a reason to, I want to be on stage. I just like
we're all big attention whores, right? You don't become a podcaster without being a massive attention whore,
absolutely.
Right? Like, because that's the thing that you've got to understand, right? We're not just podcasters; we're podcast editors. And do you know what editing a podcast means? It means sitting there and listening to yourself say the same thing 3 times over again as you like adjust volume levels and shit to make sure that it all matches. And like we don't really take any space out or like cut any sections out unless we like accidentally dox someone or something like that. But like even just adjusting the audio levels and all of that stuff takes so much freaking time.
Oh yeah, and then I have to like look through to remember, because I should be taking notes right now, but it's too late.
Oh yeah, we've got to get pen and paper out to do our little the timestamps for the subject changes and all this stuff. And we have like a I don't know, like what's the thing with
the chapters?
Yeah, the chapters, and then it's my persistent error, right? I listen to, when I'm like editing, I listen to things on like 1.75x so that I can like speed run through the podcast editing, because like as narcissistic as I pretend to be, I actually don't enjoy spending 4 hours a week listening to myself. So I try and like narrow that down to like 2 hours or something like that by speeding up the speed. But then when I give Verse the podcast files, I always forget to turn the playback speed down. So I'll give him the files and be like, "Here, bro, I finished the editing. Here you go, man." And then it'll be like, like epic rabbit mode. And he's like, "Man, like, you did it again."
Once again,
this is the 7th time this month, bro. Like, you've really got to get better about this.
Bro, I have so many stories to tell. Well, yeah, I have so many stories from the last couple of events, dude. Let's start with the first one. This one I just have to share because it's funny and it's not from any of the events. Bro, you'll never believe this, dude. Well, I guess you will, because I'm telling you right now. But I went to fucking the Joe Rogan, his comedy club here in Austin. And I go into the comedy club, right? It's like this improv show, right? And you go in, you write in little suggestions for them to do like improv comedy off of when they're in their stand-up set. So me and my girlfriend are like arguing about Twitter or whatever. And then I'm just like, all right, I don't know what to put in, but I'm going to write in girlfriend mad about social media. So I put it in the fucking little bin, right? They're doing bits. They do it the whole time. And then like Howie Mandel from Deal or No Deal as, I guess, the special guest that week. And he comes in, he's being a fucking psycho with OCD. Like he won't even touch he's having a meltdown about putting his hand inside the box to get all the pieces of paper. And he's like, let me get a fucking glove or whatever. Anyway, he pulls out, finally after he gets a glove, he pulls out the first one and it's mine. And he's like, girlfriend mad about social media. He goes, whose is this? And I'm like, it's mine. He's like, okay. He's like, stand up. He's like, tell us a story. I'm like, I'm on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. There's girls replying. My girlfriend gets mad. He goes, interesting. All right, let's call her. I'm like, the fuck you mean, let's call her? And he's like, get his phone, get his phone. And the whole club's like, call her. And I'm like, she's so pissed right now. You just don't understand. You seem like it's so bad. And everyone's like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we want to see her get mad. I'm like, all right, fine. Worst case scenario, she dumps me, and then I learned.
Bro, you don't understand. I'm destroying your relationship for content.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I call her, and he like has to like get a fucking sanitation wipe to wipe down the phone first. And he calls her because he has OCD about germs.
I was wondering if it was just like an everyone thing, or he like thinks that you specifically are
no. He has like famous OCD about germs. Like,
okay, that's funny.
He won't shake anyone's hand. But so like he calls her, and then he's just like, first he pretends to be me, and he's like flirting with her. And I was like, okay, this is already getting weird. But she recognized it wasn't me. And then he's like doing a whole bit about how I came with some girl to see if she would think I was cheating on her. And I was like, oh, well, she's not going to think I'm cheating on her because she knows I'm a nerd. I don't get pussy. And then he starts to like, then he starts like interrogating her about our relationship in front of everyone, which good for her. She's really funny. So she has like good timing. The club's cracking up, but she was like, by the end of it, she was just like, I could tell she's like livid, and she's like doing passive aggressive comments at me, and I can hear her. I'm like, oh my God. She didn't talk to me for days after that, but I was just like, I cannot fucking believe like a day and a half.
Days? Okay,
a day and a half. You know,
1.5 days.
1.5 days. It's more than one day. And she was still texting me, but she wouldn't talk to me on the phone. But anyway, you know, this is like, I'm like the levels of like hoops I had to jump, like the amount of bad luck that is, and like it like right after an argument, because I went to the show. I was like, oh, we're kind of in a bad mood. I need to get out of the house. I'm going with my friend to the show. She's like, oh, that's good. We'll talk about it later. And of course, like I go to the one show that fucking they've never called anyone's phones. They're all locked up. It's the first time in the club's history, and that happens to me. And she's like, it's eclipse season. This is the universe telling us something. That's why she wasn't talking to me. She's like, this is the universe trying to tell us an omen or something. Anyway, very funny. It's good now that we're over
like
it.
astrology type thing.
Yeah. It was like a blood eclipse or some shit, a blood moon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like, this is the universe.
That's so good.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah,
it is definitely a thing that there are like seasons where like everyone, and it's not just everyone, but it'll be like relationships that have like a specific dynamic will all totally like grenade themselves at specific seasons. Like I forget what was going on. It was like maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago. Every single like total dog shit relationship that my friends were in, they all just like blew up at the same time. And like every single guy who was notorious for just bringing his like annoying bitch of a girlfriend around to everything, just like dumb fucking obnoxious girlfriends, they all just dropped out of my lives instantly, and like everything returned to like this nice homeostatic position where like the only, you know, we had the nice like the sitcom dynamic returned where everything was like harmonious and graceful in comparison with the previous state of like you would have some girl just like randomly like flip out at somebody for like fucking up their order. Like you'd be at a restaurant and she'd just like start screaming at the waiter or something because they like forgot like a like condiment or something.
Bro, the eclipse, the moon stuff, I don't know how sure I am about the stars and all that other astrology stuff, but the moon absolutely, like both in like it affects markets, it affects people's behavior. It's like that one I'm like 100% certain about. Like people act weird as fuck on eclipses. And
I need to start going like hard into astrology at some point. This is always one of those things that I've like, you know, it's something that I passively accept that it's real in the same way that I like passively accept that like magic and other shit is real. But I always like, you know, it's sort of like an investment level thing where it's like, how much do I have to learn about this before it starts providing me any sort of like real or beneficial like feedback to my life, right? You know, it's like, for atavism, right? Like there's a level of like understanding of history that you can get to where it's like, wow, dude, like I know so much about this, like the truth, dude, like I've uncovered the truth. And like you go down like this big like conspiracy rabbit hole and stuff. And it's like, yeah, like a lot of that shit is just true, like objectively. But then you realize after like years of looking at this stuff and like reading about it, it's like, yeah, it's interesting, but like, is it beneficial to me to know any of this? Like, Is there any like actionable value that I can extract from this? Because like, it seems that mostly the effect is you just appear to be like a schizophrenic, insane person to everyone. if you ever mention it, which is like, that's negative EV, right? Like it's actually better to just not know the based hidden truths that make you sound like a delusional freak, right?
This is true. Allegedly, I mean, she seems to. I mean, I don't know. From dating girls who like astrology, which is basically any girl I've ever dated, I can say that they start to like. They give you like. They always be like, "All right, next week is an eclipse week," and you're like, "All right, it's just gonna start acting funky," and then they forget that it's an eclipse week, and then they start acting funky. You're like, "Oh, maybe they're right," you know. So it gives me a little bit of prior knowledge.
Yeah, you should start doing like bullshit cold readings on her, right? Where she tells you like, "Oh, this thing is coming up. I'm going to be acting weird." And then she forgets. And then you say like, like 3 days later, you're like, "By the way, like you've been acting erratically. Is it because the moon is in like the 5th solar?" Oh,
no, I do. Yeah, I do that shit all the time, actually. Atavism, you date any moon girls?
No, man. I've always wondered if that Riz actually works because people always joke about that. They're always like, "Oh, you can manipulate them if you know your stuff." I don't think that works. I think that's just like a myth. It's like an urban legend.
It works if you know as much or more than them. It doesn't work when they have significantly more knowledge about it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. You look like an idiot if you don't really know it. You look
Exactly.
Worse.
And if she knows a lot, like there's like a lot of like complicated interactions that the more advanced users know. And if you don't have those down, they know immediately. They can sniff it on you.
Yeah, like a chess grandmaster. They're just
exactly.
For you.
You might be able to scholars mate some scrub, but that's not going to work on a titled player. I was literally reading a chess book before this, so I'm like, oh, thank you for that.
That's funny. How did your last relationship go? She wasn't an astrology girl, right? She was just sort of a
last relationship. No, she was not normal. She was the craziest.
Atavism. I'm asking Atavism.
I don't want to bring this up in case maybe she finds it. Maybe she listens to it. Man, I might get in big trouble.
I kind of fucked him over a little bit.
Yeah,
What you do?
I don't even know how we can describe it in a way. It's
no, we were on a call talking about something else, and at some point my girlfriend asked like, "Oh, like, are you gonna break up with her?" Like, and we didn't realize that like he had the call on speakerphone with his girlfriend right there.
No.
So the girlfriend just hears another girl asking, "Are you gonna break up with her?"
I would kill myself, bro. That's so bad.
Oh no!
I tried every bomb defusal technique in the book.
No, dude, there's nothing you can do. Like,
there's no coming back from that, dude. But, that means like not only did you tell your best friend that you were having problems, it like his girlfriend knows and is like comfortable.
Yeah.
Like she didn't even think it. Like she probably just thought it was like a random other girl in the call who was like excited to date him instead. Like that's the thing. Like it's literally the mistress like plotting her downfall with him.
Oof. Damn, that's tough, dude.
That was one of the only times that the online has like reached into my personal life. Otherwise, I keep them very separate. But like, that's one time where the two worlds accidentally collided in a very negative way. But
and it was it's especially bad, right? Because you go and you break up with her after that, and then like she fucking mentioned it, right?
Yeah,
so you're like hoping, you're sitting there, you're being like, wow, like it would be really fucking awkward if she mentioned that thing. I sure hope she doesn't bring it up because I don't know how to address it. Yeah. And then she's like, so is this because of that other girl?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's tough. Yeah, no. Fortunately, well, now you're on to greener pastures, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very convincing. But,
if you ever are dating a girl who you don't want to marry, you just have to, you just have to do that immediately. You have to get on a call with your friend and his girlfriend, and she has to say, are you going to break up with her now, right? And if you weren't going to break up with her before, now you have to, right?
That was actually a catalyst, man. I was kind of on the edge. I was like...
I know. That was the funniest thing is I realized when it happened, I was like, oh. Like now it's done, right? Like this was, every one of these breakups, especially early on, has like a level of activation energy you need to reach. And like when you aren't breaking up with somebody for someone else, it's oftentimes really hard, right? Like they have to be like really shitty to get a guy to break up with them because guys aren't like girls, right? Where they have some sort of like emotional requirement in a relationship. Guys can just have like no interaction whatsoever with their girlfriend, and as long as she's not like actively a negative burden on their life, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is fine. You know, he winds up getting into the situation where he has to just he has to do it now, right?
Yeah,
he was in the neutrality bus where he was thinking, you know, she's fine, like she likes me, she cares, she's not going to embarrass me, she's a fine, nice girl, but we pushed him out of the nest. You
pushed him out of the nest, sink or swim, or I guess fly or don't fly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's good, though. Honestly, I think this is what I think was the positive thing, which is ultimately why I let Howie Mandel be my op, is that, you know, if it didn't work out after that, it's like this was a catalyzing event. You'll know for sure if you can handle it or not. And it doesn't really get more embarrassing than like a room of 200 people fucking interrogating you about your relationship when you're having a bad day. Or, you know, the girlfriend mentioning that you want to break up. These are important times in the relationship's life. You make it through that, you make it through anything, to be honest with you.
Yo, Verse, how is your audio so much higher than all of ours?
Mine's loud?
Well, your little waveform thingy on the graph is like, it's mogging the fuck out of all of ours, man.
Oh, that's just because my mic is cheaper, and I have to do all the compressing and stuff later in the back end.
Interesting.
This is kind of the way it always is. It's not even a matter of like the input volume, because I don't think it's actually high.
It just looks like there's a really high variability, whereas like ours is always sort of like I'm looking at mine and we got a nice steady waveform here, right? It's very there's not a lot of peaks and valleys, and then I'm looking at yours and we are absolutely slamming that limit, dude. We are clipping as fuck. We are barring out, man.
Well, when I get to eventually I will actually use the Patreon money to buy a new microphone, because I should.
So true, actually. That's my fumble. I need to withdraw that. I need to make a bank account for the LLC and then withdraw it.
Because we have more than enough money at this point.
Yeah. Is there a Paris and Lukas LLC?
Effectively, yes.
That's
right. And we have 18 patrons now. Thank you to our patrons.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, we have 18. And we have like $600. So we could buy a mic.
Yeah, that's not bad. We got to get you an interface and a mic. And dude, I think the idea of having like a traveling podcasting kit would be super funny if we just like shipped it around to random guests to give them like that nice buttery audio quality when we have them on the show, right? But
yeah, we should definitely have more guests too. I've had so many people hit me up recently that they want to come on, and you know that goes to show you that our consistency is paying off, right? When it's a new podcast,
this is our perpetual cope, by the way.
This is our cope, yeah.
Right? We're sitting here looking at our 300 views per video, and we're saying it's the consistency, right? It's not about having 1 million followers. It's about having those consistent guys who just keep coming back, right?
Bro, we have consistent. I mean, listen, it's just that our YouTube doesn't like pop off, but our Spotify and Apple is going up consistently this entire time.
Really?
I think people just transition to audio only because it's easier.
Yeah, I mean,
we have like 12,000 listens, and you know every single episode gets like 400 or so audio at least.
That's not bad. Well, the reason that makes me feel like it's not bad is because like I like never shill, dude. I'm so fucking bad at shilling, and I'm gonna have to go actually super turbo hard shilling on like 8 different things here, and it's gonna really disgust a lot of people.
No, that means our overall our core audience has like the audio only people, because there's no shilling on Spotify. We don't shill.
We don't even post of Spotify. Like, how are these people finding this shit?
That's what I'm saying. No, they find it from our Twitters, and then they just, I think they're genuinely just transitioning from YouTube listening to.
No, but I don't even post the Spotify links. Like,
oh no, I mean, like,
find it from my Twitter.
Oh yeah, no, they can't. But I guess they assume that we're competent enough that we would have Spotify and Apple, and they just go, "Oh, let's see if it's there." And fortunately,
a bold assumption, actually, if it
is on Spotify, Apple,
figuring out how to do it, then we would not have it.
Oh yeah, we have Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and Google. So those are the biggest 4. So,
do you guys get ad revenue on Spotify?
We do not, but I could enable that. I just don't. I just haven't.
It's like a lot of paperwork for like 34 cents.
Yeah, you can also do memberships and shit on Spotify, and we had 2 members on Spotify, but we don't. we don't have it enabled anymore.
Okay, because I listen to the podcast and I always get the same kind of ads on your videos. It's always like mobile games and this like fortune reading.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's like perfect, dude.
It's advertising.
Something?
It's advertising to an assumed audience demographic of astrology gamers.
Yes. No, I was wondering, do you have something about crystal healing in the tags?
Oh, yeah.
have,
No,
yeah,
Lukas
dude.
talks about it all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
dude.
swear to God, it's doing something. I always get it's.
That's so
no
funny.
other videos have that, but yeah.
That's so fucking funny, dude.
No, I mean, it's coming around again. Like we organically talked about like astrology in this episode also. Like it's like, and it's funny because like we don't really, like I could like midwit my way through an astrology conversation and like, oh, sun, moon, rising, like, oh, this is my Venus, like shit like that. But like, if we're gonna be real, I still don't like. If you were gonna ask me right now, like, what does a Sagittarius in Venus mean? I would have to bullshit you. I would have to bullshit you really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really know what I'm talking about, right? And I think that's the case for most people who talk about astrology, and a lot of them just don't have the balls to admit it, right? Not everyone can come out and understand that they don't really know what Sagittarius and Venus means. But
I could do it if I knew what Sagittarius meant. So I only know the signs that are in my chart because I'm selfish.
Exactly. It's right. Like, and my signs all actually tell you this, right? They say explicitly, if you read every horoscope that I've ever gotten, they say like, you will never care about anyone else's horoscope. you think they're useless and it's a waste of time to learn about it. And it's the same with like all the fitness stuff too. Like when I frequently have girls like reach out to me and ask stuff about like the repeat stuff about like, oh, like should I be taking progesterone? Should I be doing this or like what should I be doing to like fertility max, Lukas? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I simply like every time I read a post about fitness, there will be like the male section and the female section on something. I just like skip the woman one. Like I don't, like I don't really know what like ovaries look like. Every now and then, like it's like I don't know if you were to ask me like basic like female biology, it's all sort of confusing to me. I know like the functional shit, right? Like I know like I can tell when they're like ovulating and stuff.
All I know is that they
like,
pee out of a different hole.
Yeah,
I only know
they
they
pee out of the same. They pee out of the same hole.
No, they just pee out a hole that's different than the other hole.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm saying that we both pee out of our urethras.
Oh yes.
But they get more. What are they called? Urinary tract infections because this is really bizarre. So did you know that women get substantially more urinary tract infections because like their urethra is so much shorter than men's because like we have the penis sticking out the extra like however many inches. So like in order to get an infection, something has to go from bacteria have to travel from the tip of the urethra all the way up into the into the bladder, right? But because men have so many extra inches from their penis, it acts as like a natural defense mechanism.
I don't know about so many.
Climbing up.
At least a couple. At least a couple. So many might be stretching it a bit.
Yeah. That was super ridiculous for me to realize, though.
Yeah. Wait. So we have to inform the people, or myself, because I haven't talked to you in weeks. What was Japan like? Did you guys do any fun crypto shit? Did you do any degeneracy?
Dude, Remicon was awesome. Hanging out with all the Remelia, like that was probably. No, that was 100% like the most of Remelia that's ever been in one place at one time. So that was always fun because it's like. You every time I go and I meet up with them, it's like there will be like 1, 2, 3 of them there, and getting the whole gang together is it's good vibes. Getting to hang out with everyone was just like massive blast. Met a bunch of other people down there at the Milady rave too. It was funny though, like I didn't tell anyone who I was at the rave really. Mm-hmm. So there were a few people who like it was really really funny. I was talking to someone in conversation, and I pointed at somebody and I was like, "Oh shit, dude, we got a real towel boy over here, man." Yeah. And they were like, "Oh, dude, are you fucking Lukas?" And I was like, "Oh my god."
I tell people you look like a cop, so I think that also helps. So they go,
I look like a really fucking racist cop, man.
You do. So all right, they go, "Oh, the racist looking cop. That's Lukas. Has to be."
Yeah. No. So there were some people who recognized me from that. Some people who recognized me from what I was saying. And later, though, I got this little tag. There was this guy, what's his Voltron. His handle on Twitter is Voltron.
I've met Voltron before.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He had this machine that would print out like your avatar and then like another picture and put it on the back. So I had a little badge, right? Like he gave me like a little plastic cover for it, and I now have like a little badge with my milady on it and with like the bisexual rabbit on the backside.
Oh,
so
hell
that I
yeah!
can hang it off and have everyone identify me, right?
That's powerful.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, the other thing is like you go to these things and a lot of the point is farming the clout, right? Like what's the point of building up the clout on the internet if you can't convert it into some sort of real life love and affection, right? So if you're going around and just some random guy, you know, it's not the same. As
not nearly the same.
Yeah, you're cashing in the clout.
There is nothing more fun than being recognized from the internet. Oh my God, it makes me come every time. I swear to God. It's like, are you Vers? Like, I absolutely am Vers, and you're my new favorite person. Thanks for recognizing me.
Yeah, no, it was all a really fun time. I mean, Japan overall is just super bizarre as a country. Like, like anime is all just real. Like, I thought anime was like, I don't know, like it was like exaggerating some cultural nuances of any of this stuff, but it's really just like. It's literally real. Like anime depicts Japan 100% accurately. They have all this bizarre shit, right? Like cars are these tiny little square things. The roads are fucking tiny. All of the electrical infrastructure is just like, there's wires going over everywhere. Like it looks like my computer desk with just like this bizarre nest of wires. The infrastructure, because they have like, so it's not like America where property appreciates in value because they have so many earthquakes. So, basically every house that's more than like 30 years old is just like exploded, right? Like it's been earthquaked to death, and like houses actually depreciate in value. So their building techniques are totally different, right? Like there's a lot of stuff up here that we do, and it's like based on code for like aesthetic or just like weird regulatory reasons. And down there, it's actually like hyper utilitarian in a lot of their construction. So they would have like a bunch of like sheet metal sidings, or they would have just like exposed metal girders or stuff like that. And it was kind of cool because it was like, if you would go to like a super autistic person with no architectural background and you would say like, I want you to build me a house that's as durable and as cheap as possible. Like you get a lot of that shit, right? Obviously not like the skyscrapers and stuff, like the big buildings, but I'm talking about like the houses out in the more rural areas.
Yeah, I know that there's like a lot of Japanese families have like an abandoned house in the family. They'll all have like what was called like these kind of like, they just abandoned houses. Like everyone knows someone is like, oh, this house used to be filled with someone and we just have it, we own it, but we move somewhere else, and it's like dilapidated.
Yeah, no, like there's all these abandoned houses everywhere. And the other reason I learned for that is because you have to pay less taxes on your land if you have a residency on it. So everyone just leaves these like shitty dying houses on their land because otherwise they have to like 5x their tax payments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of really bizarre stuff. Like the economy is just like, and then like, so the Japanese are just sort of like weird in that, you know, like in America, there's the capitalistic sense, like overwhelmingly of like, you have a business and your number one thought is like, how do I grow? How do I scale? How do I scale? How do I grow? How do I get more money? How do I extract more capital from the market? And in Japan, there's this thing where they'll just be like, fine. Right? Like they'll have their company. They'll be like, yep, I've built up a good reputation. I'm well respected within my community. And, that's fine. Like I don't want to deal with the pain in the ass of exporting to these people. It seems unpleasant, right? Like they'll have literally like fucking like $100 million business opportunities. They could arb across the world. There's like massive demand for their product, and they just like never do anything about it because
there's like, nah, I'm good. Thanks though.
No, it's really insane. And that like living there and just like doing retail arbitrage would be like an unironically, like you could just make your living off of that, right? Like you could go to just Japanese marts and just ship shit back to America and make all of your money. Plus, so like Tokyo theoretically is one of the most expensive cities in the world, but like you really don't fucking realize how expensive America is until you go to like, you know, like Tokyo, big, like is world's biggest city, most expensive, whatever. But everything was just, it didn't cost any money. Like I was eating, fuck man, like the example I have, I walked into like I was staying out. This is a funny story for later too about the friend that I was staying with. But I was staying out for the first few days with my friend who lived out in a more rural area, maybe like an hour's train ride outside of Tokyo, and I went to a grocery store out there, and like they had like a pound of shiitake mushrooms for like 50 cents or something, which is like
Jesus.
it's like $8 or $9 here. Like everything was just so cheap out there, and like you could get the eel out there. Like if you've had unagi, it's literally like fake, bro. Like the eel that they have in Japan is so much better. It made me like, it was literally the difference between like crab and imitation crab. It was super, super fucking bizarre. Like every piece of eel that I've ever eaten in the States has been like total horse shit compared to what they had down there. They just had salmon for like $1 a pound everywhere. So I was
really easy to get salmon in Japan.
Yeah, I was just like pigging out on this shit all the time. I mean, I posted some pictures of the food, but like not really many. But like, and this was the other really, really bizarre thing is I was eating like unironically like 5K plus calories a day, and I couldn't keep weight on. I lost like 20 pounds on that trip, man.
Like, they don't have the processed food. I mean, that's like that was how I felt with Europe too. Like, it is insane how much like the processing of food and like all the extra soy, whatever the fuck we add, because they have soy shit too. So I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess it's the PUFAs.
I have no idea. Like, I think it literally has to be something in the water. Like the water in Tokyo, number one, it tasted really good. Number two, when I showered, it literally made my skin feel like the silken or some shit, dude. Like I was just sitting there in the shower, like washing myself, and then it just transitions to like I'm just like rubbing my shoulder, like, wow, dude, like when did your shoulder get so fucking silky, man? What the hell? This feels real nice, dude. And then I like feel my hair, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, what the hell?
It could be awesome. That there's also that weird. Was it Young? It might have been Young, somebody like that, where they were like part of. There's like it's a little bit hokey, but like the actual geography of where you live affects your physiognomy. And being in a place like America, everyone's bigger and whatever because it's like open expanse, right? We have a lot of space.
Oh,
so
you
like,
go goldfish mode.
Yeah, exactly. So we might just be getting bigger just because we're in open expanse. Like Europeans, Japan is all, even in New York City, like I lose weight in New York City even if I eat the same. Because you're like, everything's a lot more narrow.
Having to walk around and all of this stuff.
Walking around too, yeah.
It's just like walking everywhere. And I was constantly just trying to pig out, which is nice. They have these 7-Elevens that have like nice shit, right? Like they had, the 7-Elevens would have like higher quality food than like mid to high tier restaurants here.
I did hear that. I did hear 7-Elevens are crazy in Japan. I need to go. I feel bad that I didn't go to this one.
I think I'm going to go back. I think I'm going to go back with my girlfriend's family, or at least try and convince them to go back because it was just like really
double
fun.
date because my girlfriend wanted to go to Japan too.
That could actually be really fun. It's been I don't know. It was just really fun to see all of the weird shit that like it's literally like an alien fantasy land, right? So I went to Korea after, and Korea was like, Korea could have been any big American city. It wasn't like I didn't ever have a moment in Korea where I was like, this feels like alien and foreign to me. Like when I was getting off the plane and I was trying to ask the desk clerk, like, how do I find my driver who was sent to me, by the way. I had a driver sent to me and they had a card. They had a card that said Lukas Computer, right? And they had a little fucking, like a little milady on the sheet. That was so epic. Getting driven to the hotel in a limo, calling you by your Twitter handle is just like
powerful.
That was a level. I was not prepared for the effect that was going to have on my ego, right? It was like
Atavism was typing.
Maybe broke and homeless, but for this one brief moment, we have made it. Yeah, Atavism is typing something.
Because there was some background noise. I couldn't speak for a second.
Oh, I see. What were you about to say?
I was going to say that I couldn't speak for a second, but you're really selling me on Japan, dude. I really got to take a vacation out there.
Well, here's the thing, though, is there is a catch with Japan for sure. And this ties into the funny story that I mentioned earlier with my friend. So I was staying out there with this guy, and he worked as he taught English, right? And so he somehow came into this arrangement where the guy who he taught for also was his landlord, right? And he wanted to take some time off, and his landlord was like, no, like, fuck you. Made it this big thing, right? Like it was essentially going to be impossible for him to take time off. And it wound up with him getting fired. And so him getting fired also meant that he got like evicted, right? And then he like, I guess they had like a nasty back and forth text exchange. And as a result of the nasty back and forth text exchange, I had previously been saying that I think he sent him like death threats or something like that. I don't think that was true. I talked to him again after, and I don't know. I think he like exaggerated when he said like he sent him messages saying, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you, bro." Like I think he basically just called him like a bald manlet or something like that.
Yeah.
But they had some sort of like abrasive back and forth text conversation that resulted in him being detained in jail for like weeks. And so normally like when this stuff happens in America, you kind of like know about it, right? Like if one of your friends gets arrested, there's like an understanding of like where he went and like how to contact him and stuff like that, right? But what happened in Japan was like this guy is like, "Hey, Lukas, there's 8 Japanese police officers outside my door, and they say that they're not arresting me, and they just want to talk. So I'm going to go out and say hey to them." And then like that's the last message that I have from this guy for like weeks, right? Like, and then he's just fucking gone. And like we tried calling some of these police stations, but it's like like what. You're in Japan, right? So I'm trying to speak Japanese to these people to ask them where my friend is, but like, like it's weird because like, which police station do you call? Where do they come from? Like, how do I find out information about any of this? What is custom? Like, do they give them like one call? Is there like bail? Like, it was just the whole process being like totally alien and foreign, made it like virtually impossible to get in contact with him. So, and I also like, I had stuff left at his house, and like, I was also like going to like, like I was staying at his house or where he was renting, but he got evicted, but he got arrested. And so like, so it was just this very big thing. And I was like, so this can just like suddenly happen. And then I started reading about Japan's legal system, and it seems that they have this thing where like, if foreigners do anything that's like a little bit iffy, they'll just like pull you into the pen for a few weeks. And, there's nothing to do there. It's like the standard state of Japanese prison is like solitary confinement. Like that's like,
dude. I was reading up on Japanese prison, dude. Like I can understand, I guess, if you were Japanese, that like what their like standard prison practices are wouldn't be that brutal to you. But for an American, like it's like you have to sleep, and then you get like and then you have like alternating on and off work hours. And when you're working, it's like 2 hours on and then like 20 minutes off all day, and then you get free time for like 2 hours. And you get food along the way, and then you go to sleep again. But you're not allowed to speak at all during the work hours. You're only allowed to speak during the free time hours, like no words at all. And if it's a free time hours, you can speak, but it has to be in Japanese. So I'm like, imagine like being in prison essentially 24 hours a day in what's effectively solitary confinement, or working, and you have to be quiet the whole time. As for an American in that, you'd fucking like lose it.
Yeah. I mean, like the basic thing for me of just having like I can deal with no access to the internet if I have like people to talk to, but like if you just put me alone in a room and I have like nothing to like write on, then like I'm going to be very sad, right? Like I like people. And also, I mean, there's also the other thing of like you're not like a Japanese speaker. If I'm not. So if I go to Japanese jail, I'm gonna be like shooting the shit with like the Japanese guards. Like I don't think so.
Yeah, but you're like not allowed to speak in English, right? So you, even while you were learning Japanese, they'd be like, no, and you're like, now you're punished. So that's brutal too.
Yeah, no, the whole thing just seems very, and like this didn't really impact me particularly, and like it's probably good overall for the country, I guess. But there is like a lot of stuff where you can find like there's like a bunch of cases where like foreigners just get accused of random shit and it like fucks them over. Because like obviously like you don't want to actually be like dicking around and stuff, but like if somebody does get pissed off at you, then like a native can kind of like fuck your life over.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Japanese people are largely, they don't want to have the conflict.
That's exactly, yeah. That's exactly the thing, is they were all very, they didn't really want to get into any sort of like big shit like that. There were a lot of people though who were like on visas from like other Asian countries who were very aggro though.
I bet.
A lot of Koreans were like, I'm not going to say like aggressive, but they were definitely more like Americanized in terms of like their conflict avoidance and stuff like that. And I don't know. The food was also really great though. So like for me, the thing, visiting any place, like all of my friends wanted to go around and do all this sightseeing and stuff like that. But like the main things that I like when I go places is like, one, I like the people, right? Like the reason I can live fucking anywhere. I can live in the middle of nowhere. And as long as I have like interesting people to talk to, like I will be totally fine. I don't need anything else at all. So I will always just want to be talking to people. I like the food. I like weird food, right? Like being able to go to a grocery store and just see all of these like weird shrimps and mollusks and like shellfish and vegetables that I've like never seen or bought before. And they're all so fucking cheap. Like that was so awesome. I had a lot of fun with that. I have like a 5-hour GoPro video of me just walking around a grocery store, like soy jacking at everything. Just like, oh my God, look at that, dude. There'd be like huge beetroots or something like that. Like these massive, like 35-pound beetroots.
Sick.
Yeah, they had the selection of jasmine rice that they had was absurd, dude. Like it was everything from like 20 cent per pound rice all the way up to like fucking like $30 per pound rice.
Oh shit.
Like you could really
now I want to try. I don't even know what $30 a pound rice would taste like. Now I need to know.
I know. That was my thought also. I didn't want to fill up too much on rice though, because there were a lot of more interesting things to me, but I'm regretting not getting like a 20-pound bag of just like gourmet designer rice while I was down there.
That's awesome.
They had I mean, like all of the desserts were just like bizarre and absurd. All the street food. So like they did this thing where they like frying a lot of shit. They really do like their seed oils and their soy down there. I'm gonna say that 100% for sure. So you had to like that was definitely a thing to be avoided, right? Like they have all the tempura, they had all the karage, whatever. They had the fried stuff at all the street stands, but then they would also have these like rice dumplings with like a sweet soy glazing over it, or like those little balls on a stick that have like the soy sauce glaze that you see in
taki.
No. They were like the things that you see people eating in anime.
Oh, dongos. They're like the dongos thing, right? The dongo little balls, right?
I think so. Maybe. I don't know. I should look it up and see.
Yeah, dongo. Yeah.
But and then
my anime's coming to use.
Desserts. the actual desserts that they had too were crazy because they had like they just gave like extreme care and dedication to making these like beautiful little pretty things. Like if I was a girl with an Instagram account, I would have been blowing my shit up down there. Just like every single thing, man.
Absolutely. No, I have to go now. I feel like I'm a bad weeb for not going.
I mean, the thing is that like it's a pain in the ass to fly internationally to Japan, right? Like just flat out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so like I was going down there and I had to go to a formal event after in Korea. And so I had a suit with me. And how do you pack a suit?
You wear it to the airport?
Exactly, right? So I wore the suit to the airport, but it's like my airport journey was like 24 hours long, right? So I'm in this suit for like 24 hours. I'm sitting on this plane 24 hours in this suit. And then I go and I'm wearing the suit again at the Milady rave. We all suited up, all the Remy boys.
That's so funny. That's
dude, it was really bizarre. I think Cars was saying like, you guys looked like a bunch of fucking like third grade LARPers. Fuck you. But yeah,
what's more Japanese than wearing a suit to get plastered? That's as Japanese as it gets, and then you pass out on the street.
Yeah, it was really funny. I thought it was a funny look for sure. And then I wore the suit again when I had to go to Korea. I wore the suit again when I had to go. Oh wait, we had another. Oh yeah, we did like a bullet train trip that we did. We went up to Kyoto, right? Fuck nice. Me. I got so. The whole trip was like me. So I did like zero planning, and I'm like notoriously not like planner guy. Like my brain, I've always like outsourced this to a girlfriend, right? And this time I was there without a girlfriend because her passport could not get in time, and she tried expediting it, and it just came in like a week after we got back from Japan or something like that. But so she wasn't there. So I was like relying on everyone else and just like hoping, oh, okay, this is all going to work out. And when we went down to Kyoto, we had to get this like bullet train ticket, right? And like the bullet train, like it's like you buy the ticket and then you leave in like 6 minutes. Like there's a very short latency between like when you buy it and like there's some thing about like reserving the seats versus going onto the unreserved cars. And we were really fucking bamboozled about how to get it through. And then my card didn't work. They were like, oh, just use your card. My card didn't work, and I had never I didn't take out yen. I had been I paid somebody like $70 or something for like it was like 100,000 yen, I think, early on in the trip, and I'd been using that to pay for like literally everything, and it just lasted because it was so cheap. But then that wasn't enough to pay for the bullet train trip because it was like $150 or something like that. And so I got separated from the rest of my group of friends. They all went off and they were like, oh, just go get cash and then buy it. But I couldn't get cash because my card wasn't working and there were no currency exchanges. So I had USD on hand, and I went and I found some random Africans. Like I found like literal Nigerians who I was like, oh, you're not Japanese. Maybe you have USD. And they did. And I offered to pay them so that I could get some of their yen.
Oh, nice. That worked out.
And then I went and I bought the ticket afterward. But because I wasn't with them and I don't know how the Japanese bullet train system works, like they give you this ticket and it says you're going from one place to another. And there were very few stops. So I assumed that like it was going to give me some sort of like a big like beeping announcement when I got off or something like that. But it just stopped for like 30 seconds. And I asked the guy next to me, I was like, and I showed him my ticket. I was like, oh, is this where I'm supposed to get off? And he's like, no, next one. And then so immediately after the train starts moving again, my friends are like, Lukas, like, where are you at? Like, we're outside the station McDonald's, bro. Waiting for you. And I was like, I'm still on the thing. And they were like, what?
Oh, no.
Your train just left, bro. And I was like,
oh, fuck. That sucks, dude.
And
was it easy to get back?
Well, so I was like panicking here for a little while, right? Because I was like, now I'm like, I have a card that doesn't work. I have no more cash. I'm separated from my only friends who like know what's going on. And it was like Raven and Jimbo and Doll who were the ones who were out there. And so they're all like, Lukas, like, because they want to go like fuck around in Kyoto, right? And I am now zipping off at 600 miles per hour going somewhere else. And I think I went to Osaka. I think I spent. So anyway, I started asking people on the train. I'm like, I think I missed my stop, and they're like, "Yup, yeah, you missed."
Yeah, you did.
And I'm like, I'm like looking at the guy next to me, like, you got me good, dude. You really rugged me on this one. But so I eventually find this old. I started asking like the most mischievous looking ones that I could find, and I asked this older guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you want me to show you how to get back on the other way without having to pay for another ticket?" And I was like, "That would be awesome."
You found the only criminal in Japan,
right? Literally, like the one Japanese person willing to bend the rules in any way, and I found him in that train car with me. And he said basically, if you go onto every train has like the first 3 cars reserved or unreserved, I guess. And they said, oh yeah, if you go in there, they don't do ticket checks for the seats. So if you go and you go to the station basically, and then you go find the train going the other direction and then hop on that one, it'll just take you back to your other thing. And then you can get on. And I was like,
that's sick.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make sense that they just trust that no one sits there.
Well, so here's what I learned basically is like, this means that what you should always do when you ride the bullet train is like, you should go and, okay. A lot of this sort of gets like sorted out on its own because like when you check in and then you check out, you have to like scan your ticket and your card and stuff like that. So like they knew that I had the same destination as like my trip paid for. Because like I checked in at the same station and I checked out at the station that I paid for the ticket at, right?
Yeah.
They didn't know that I hopped on that extra leg.
Yes.
But maybe they just don't care.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah. You just have the same entry and exit.
What he told me might not have even been illegal. Like that might have just been like what you do if you're a fucked up and you forget. Yeah. So, but it was really cool. And so, yeah, I did that, got back, caught up with them. And then we went and we had like an onsen spa day. That was really funny. Going around with Jimbo to the spa was super funny. I was just sitting in a sauna with Jimbo, and we would keep Jimbo like on the far end that you couldn't see right when you looked in the door. So all these Japanese guys would come in, and then as soon as they saw Jimbo,
black guy,
right? They would be like their racism would cause them to just leave. So they would like open the door and then like walk out. It was super funny. The sauna experience was really funny too because they had this like epic all you can eat buffet thing. And we just like, I just pigged out. And then I made fun of Jimbo because he couldn't even finish his meal, dude. He was like, Lukas,
what a fucking twink.
Yeah, I know.
Big twink energy.
I was getting on him hard for that one. And then, the night that we were there was super funny because every single restaurant like refused to let us in. Like the group that we had going around, right? So it was me, it was Raven, it was Jimbo, and it was Doll, right? So like all of these people. The audience might not know all of these people, but like the important thing is that like no matter what sort of person might offend you, there's at least one of us in that group there, right? So we were going around trying to get food anywhere, and they would not let us in. They would come up, they would do this thing, they would cross their arms at us and say no, and we made a reservation at one of these places, and we went up and they just said like no, sorry, like
no blacks. No tall gothic white looking dudes.
Yeah, like you're not allowed to have emos here. You're not allowed to have like racist like cop brawlers here. You're not allowed to have transsexuals here. Like the whole thing was just like like now that I'm saying that, are you understanding like how unlikely it would be for any place to let us in? Tokyo is fine with like foreigners, and they just accept like the weird wacky shit that like white people do. But like you go out to Kyoto and stuff, and it's like a relatively like it's literally like a trad Japanese village, right? Like it has like the oldest architecture of anything that I've seen there. And
Kyoto wouldn't be down with that. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because you just have a weird crew of foreigners of every ilk. There's like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And like, I think I was dressed like sort of like nicely, I guess, but like everyone else had on some, like Jimbo
always wears like pajamas.
Jimbo, he was wearing some sort of like bizarre like Gucci pajama pant outfit where it was like you could tell that it cost like $15,000, but you could also tell that like he had like a SoundCloud and he was like a big underground rapper, right? Like there was this
classic Jimbo.
And then Raven was just dressed like a like some sort of like a sad boy model or something like that.
Like he's wearing Rick Owens and he's
I mean the whole thing it was just designed to get us kicked out of every single Japanese establishment.
That's so funny. I would have had a great time there. I know it would have been a lot of fun.
It was so
wreaking havoc in Japan.
The whole thing, and then like camera lenses were a lot cheaper down there too. That was my one goal, was to get down there and buy like an 85mm lens for my camera. Never accomplished. Not even close.
That's weird. I would have bought all the tech. Their shit is so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Because they don't pay any of the export taxes or whatever the fuck we pay.
When he gets older, he won't sound like this anymore.